All right, welcome everybody. My name is Ridhaba. I'm one of the second-year residents here at Maimo, and we're going to be having a whole host of people talking to you today. We wanted to make sure you guys got like the full perspective. There is a QR code up so that you can post any questions you have in case you want them to be anonymous. I'll post a link to it as well as we move further along. But to start off, you're going to be meeting our one and only program director, Dr. Arlene Chung. Let's just get started.
Well, that was a very lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, whatever time zone that this may be for you. I have no idea where you guys, that's like the interesting thing about Zoom, right? It's like, who knows where everyone is in the world. So whether it is morning, nighttime, it's nighttime here on the East Coast, or middle of the day, thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a pretty, I guess, informal session tonight. I'm going to do like apparently I'm only allowed to do like a blazingly fast overview of the program. Most of the stuff I'm about to go over is available on the website. So there's a small QR code on the bottom. It takes you right to our website. All this information is there. So while you're welcome to take notes, you do not have to take notes. It is all publicly available for records elsewhere. But just some like quick program highlights. So I'm Arlene Chung, I'm the program director here. I can't believe it. This is already my 4th year as the program director. I don't know where the time goes. I guess you have time flies when you're having fun despite a global pandemic. Some basic like nuts and bolts about our program. We are a 3-year residency program with 18 residents per year for a grand total of 54 residents actually as of next July. So our senior class right now is 16 residents and the subsequent years are 18 residents. So eventually we'll get to 18 per year. We've been around for a long time. So actually I think we're one of the older programs in New York City. We were first accredited in 2001, graduated our first class in 2005, and our 17th or 17 class of residents this past June, 2021. Some stuff about the hospital. I don't know, some of you may have come to Brooklyn. Some of you may have seen the hospital actually. But for those of you who aren't as familiar, we are as our chair likes to say, we are the biggest hospital in the biggest borough in the biggest city in the country. Our emergency department sees over 120,000 patients every year, and that's adult and pediatrics combined. We are actually the children's hospital for Brooklyn, and we just broke ground on building a brand new sort of separate standalone children's hospital right next to the main Maimonides building. We are a level 1 adult trauma center, level 2 pediatric trauma center, and the only pediatric trauma center in the entire borough of Brooklyn, which is about 500,000 children. We're a comprehensive stroke center, STEMI receiving center. I want to make a quick distinction here in that community. So we are designated as a community hospital because there is, there's no like Maimonides Medical School, at least not as far as I know. So we are a community hospital, we are a community residency program, but that does not mean that we are not academic, right? So we have a bunch of subspecialty programs. I think there are over 500 trainees in the hospital, so house staff, residents. We are in fact the 4th largest independent teaching hospital in the country. And clinically we do very well. And actually, believe it or not, in the year 2020, so just this past year, we are in the top 10 in the country for all cause lowest mortality, which I actually thought that was pretty mind-boggling that despite all the things that happened in the last pandemic, we were actually in the top 10 for the lowest cause. In addition, we are number 1 in the country, number 1 out of all the hospitals in the country for heart attack survival, among a number of other really sort of amazing clinical outcomes here. Some stuff about the rotations, highlights, right? So it's a 3-year program. Each year you go through 13 different blocks that are 4 weeks each. You can see that on the website. But some highlights is you will notice that we have no floor months. And so actually our residents do not rotate on medicine. There's no medicine, there's no Peds, no surgery floor. We have replaced all of those with ICU blocks. So instead of medicine, they do MICU. Instead of Peds floor, they do PICU. The second year is where most of the ICU rotations live. So SICU, CCU, PICU, and then a rotation of shock trauma. So for whatever it's worth, some of you may have come to New York, may be intimately familiar with New York. Some of you have never set foot in New York. Just so you know, actually since like the 1970s or so, New York City has like become like actually really great, safe, relatively safe place to live, which is awesome if you're going to come here for residency, but it does change the nature of trauma a little bit that you'll see. And so actually we send our residents to shock trauma down in Baltimore to ensure that they get a pretty well-rounded trauma experience there. Some unique highlights in the third year. We offer not only a senior elective rotation, but we also offer a dedicated international rotation. And so I want to make a distinction here. So it is not a elective in which some people choose to go abroad. We actually really designate it as an international rotation that's really consistent with our core mission statement, right? Which is to train residents in a diverse Brooklyn community to provide culturally competent care, right? And so you start learning that here in Brooklyn at sort of your home base, and then in your senior year, you get to actually utilize those skills abroad. We offer a variety of fellowship programs here at Maimonides. So right now we have active medical education, ultrasound simulation, pediatric emergency medicine fellowships with fellows in all of those. And actually for the July 2022, we are also going to be recruiting for the first time for an admin fellowship and for an EMS fellowship. Some other like awesome sauce, awesome extras about the program. What makes us different than the 20 bajillion other residency programs in New York City, other than our name, which we all say Maimo. It will just cause so much less confusion. It's fine. Maimonides, it's okay. You can just say Maimo. That's what we all call it. But what sets us apart, right, from other residency programs? I would say our ultrasound program is really one of the big highlights of our program here. I will say, so I didn't train at Maimonides. I actually did my residency training at Brown up in Rhode Island, and I came to Maimo for the first time as medical education fellow. And I came in and I was like, I know how to do ultrasound. Like, this is great. I just graduated, and I remember I had. I was working with an intern at the time. He was like, oh, can you supervise my ultrasound? And it's like, sure, no problem. And he's like, because I've been having a lot of difficulty, trying to figure out how to do this EPSS thing and measure diastolic heart failure. And I was like, excuse me? I like beating, not beating, fluid, no fluid, IUP, no IUP. But the residents are so much more cutting edge and advanced than me, to the point where many of them become very facile with things like ultrasound guided nerve blocks, especially for femoral neck fractures. We have a live TEE that is in our resuscitation bay. And so the residents that are really interested can get involved in research. And actually we are in the process of credentialing all of our faculty in TEE. So the residents can use it no matter who they are working with for the appropriate patients. Some other unique stuff actually related to the nerve blocks. We have the fortune of having some really amazing faculty on staff here. And so that would include Ruben Strayer and Sergei Motov, who in particular have been really sort of pivotal in the opioid epidemic. And so as a result, our residents really get to benefit from their expertise. And so they get really facile in prescribing buprenorphine, initiating medication-assisted treatment, outpatient referrals, and also using non-opioid alternatives for pain. Dr. Motov, I think, is going to be joining us tonight. So if you have any specific questions related to that, please ask him that. We serve an incredibly diverse population of patients here. So, okay. So again, I'm going to stop here and just make a note. This is the beginning of like application season, interview season. If you're here at this webinar, I assume you're interested in New York City, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All New York City programs are diverse. Should not be shocking news. They are all just diverse in their own particular ways, right? And so how is Maimonides different? I think we represent like the second most culturally diverse zip code in the country, and that's actually reflected in the number of languages that our patients speak. And we had actually the woman who runs our language program here at Maimonides actually said that we have over 200 distinct languages and dialects that are spoken here at Maimonides, which is just mind-boggling. And we do have in-person translation available for the major languages here. Some of the other unique things about Maimo compared sort of when you're looking across the city is that our residents spend the majority of their training here at like Maimo, Maine, right? Like the mothership, which is a little different. You'll see different models. And I think a common one is like, oh, well, some residents, they spend like half their time at like the big tertiary care center and like half their time at the county hospital, which is great because you get a balanced sort of perspective to your training. But Maimo is really unique in that we see all types of patients. So we see patients who would traditionally go to like your university quaternary center, and we see patients who have like never interacted with the healthcare system before. They all come to Maimo, and I think the really excellent thing is we are able to provide a really high level of care to no matter who comes through the door. Some other things that the residents get to do: we have a really robust event medicine program, which includes Burning Man when it happens again. I remember the first year that our residents went to go cover the assist with the medical team at Burning Man. They came back afterwards and they were like, Arlene, this was amazing. Like we learned so many things. And tell me what you learned. I am not interested in what you learned, but I'm glad it was a really educational experience. So we have event medicine opportunities for our residents to moonlight, both as second years and as third years. And so they can moonlight around the city. We cover all of the events at Madison Square Garden, Barclays Center. We cover the US Open. We cover local festivals. And we also cover festivals across the country. And so I think we have a couple residents who are out of Watershed in Oregon right now. We have a dedicated simulation center that is run by the emergency department, but it is a hospital simulation center. So it is quite large, and our residents engage in quite a bit of simulation over the 3 years, which is important because we are actually, we're very much into active learning when possible. And in fact, we were one of the first residency programs to switch to a flipped classroom in 2013. And so all of our core content still, even on Zoom, is delivered in small group facilitated discussions with faculty members. So we also have great faculty participation at conference every week. We have a social EM division, which has been up and running. I know that's one of the things that a lot of people ask about. And so we actually have a social EM scholarly track for residents who are really interested in that. And so they can get involved in a variety of projects, which includes like our high utilizer program that one of our attendings, Josh Schiller, runs, as well as, you know, we have these things coming down the pipeline, right? Like a street medicine program and eventually, you know, down the line, perhaps a free clinic. And so he's definitely the point person for that. Another unique thing to us, and I think maybe unique to a 3-year program in general, are these scholarly tracks that I mentioned before. So we have a social EM track, we have a med ed track, we have a sim track, we have a critical care track, we have the ultrasound track, surprisingly. We have a medical humanities track, and really they are meant to both, like some of them follow fellowships, but also they're really just meant to help foster any kind of sort of interest you may have, whether it's fellowship associated or not. So I think half the residency like signed up for the medical humanities track, which is awesome. It sounds awesome. You read like a play by Camus and like you go to a museum. I'm like, I want to do that as a resident. And really it goes along with our mission of trying to tailor the residency experience to each and every individual resident's own goals, whatever that means. We have a resident initiated diversity and inclusion committee, which has really been active over the last couple months. And so looking at 3 different aspects of addressing issues of diversity, inclusion, and health equity at our program and at Maimonides, ranging from sort of getting first-year medical students interested in EM and sort of mentorship at the early phases to strategies for recruitment and to supporting our current residents. So whether that is through hospital-wide mentorship, whether that is through a cultural competency curriculum that Rhythma is starting, and she's going to like say, oh, no, I don't want questions about that. And also really a major push by a lot of the residents. And I think this goes to one of the themes in this program is that I think we are a very resident, I don't want to say like resident driven, but we are very much in tune with listening to our residents, and a lot of change happens because they are incredibly motivated people. I do think, and I don't know how much this parallels your experience, but I do remember being in university and thinking, you go to university, you go to college, and everyone's like, you can change the world, you can go out there and you can do stuff, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to go to medical school, and then you go to med school and you have varying amounts of experience, which may or may not I don't know, leads you to think like, oh, maybe like some of my autonomy isn't quite there as much. And so I think really what we try to do here at Maimo is to give some of that back and give some of that voice back to our residents and really try to support them in whatever interests and whatever change they want to make, whether it's within the residency program within the hospital or larger than that. Our wellness committee is also very active and very wellness and very sort of resident focused and resident motivated. And so it ranges from a number of things of supporting saves and shouts every week and sort of highlighting resident accomplishments on a weekly basis to really being involved in like social events and being involved in really kind of supporting residents in whatever they may need, whether it's mental health, some resilience training, or some other things that are happening during conference. And again, we are that is one of the things we try to, I think that makes us a little bit different, right? You want to, when you think about where you want to train, you know, you sort of think about what kind of culture do I want to be part of? What kind of team, what kind of family do I want to be part of? And I would like to think that we are one big happy family. One of the things I say, it's hard with like Zoom, but it's all about fit, right? So like all residency programs are awesome. And like, no matter where you go, you should feel really good about matching into EM because you're going to get great training. So it's all about fit and like, where do I fit? And, you know, where are my people? Where's my tribe? And I like to say like, we are a group of people who are like rainbows, unicorns, sprinkles, and hugs, right? And so like, we like hugs. I know it's COVID and it's like, you're so totally not supposed to do that, but we like hugs. And so it's like, if you're not a hugger and like, you're not that's cool. You do you, but probably fair warning ahead of time. I have some contact information at the bottom for our residency leadership, for our clerkship directors, and for our medical education fellows, as well as our chief residents and our program coordinator at the bottom. I talk really fast. If you're like, I don't remember anything that she just said, that's cool. It's all going to be recorded. It's all going to be on the website. And with that, Mike, Danta, how did I do? How did I do on time? Are we good? Did I miss anything?
You hit it pretty close.
So awesome. I don't want to take up the whole show here. And I have 17 past the hour. So I am going to stop talking now and hand back the reins.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chung. I will say every year when I hear this presentation, I actually learn something new about the program too. And I know I'm not part of the panel, but I just want to attest to the fact that you can come to this program and start something from scratch and build it. If you have any ideas, Dr. Chung and the rest of the residency leadership are very, very open to your ideas, which is something I was looking for when I was applying to programs. With that being said, Dr. Chung is also one of our first panelists, so I'm going to give it back to you. And I'm curious to know, what is your next project to help the program grow?
What is my next project? So you never do anything alone, right? And I think that's like EM, one of the reasons people go into it is teamwork. And something that's been on my mind has actually really, I've been sort of immersed in it. I may because it's recruitment season coming up, but really have been issues of diversity, inclusion, and health equity, which quite frankly, I do not consider myself an expert. And so I've been asking lots of friends, lots of other program directors, hey, how can we better support our residents? And so I had a really interesting conversation with Ingrid Walker, who is she is the PEDS program director. She's actually been quite successful in recruiting underrepresented students to our program. And I was like, how do I convey to people, this is something we are very open to, right? This is something that we really want to support, we really want to promote, but it's hard because, quite frankly, the elephant in the room is you look at our roster and we are not there yet. She's like, that's okay. And she was like, I think what people want to know is that if I come to your program, will you support me? Will you sort of help me in my goals? And are they in line with your mission statement? And really our mission is to recruit a really diverse set of people, right? A variety of different backgrounds that who want to take care of the patients here, who are equally diverse, right? And so it's guaranteed that no matter who you are, where you come from, the people that you're going to take care of here at Maimonides will be different than the people you knew growing up. And I think learning to practice and learning to be an emergency physician in that climate is really great. It's really great for your training ground, no matter what you decide to do afterwards. So it's a big strategic priority for this recruitment season, really to going to make a big push in how do we support our underrepresented students, and we'll see, right? And so we've got a number of initiatives coming down the pipeline over the next couple of months, so stay tuned, right? Check out the website, check us out on social media.
Awesome, thank you for that. And I will say this is just a plug for our next webinar in 2 weeks, which will be allowing you guys to talk to our diversity and inclusion committee and ask any questions you might have. With that being said, I'm going to move on to our next panelist, Mike Danta. He's one of my classmates. He's one of my really good friends. He is very involved in the wellness committee this year. And Mike, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name's Mike. I'm a second year here at Maimo, and I absolutely love our program. I am very involved in our wellness committee, which is very active here in Maimo. I think wellness looks different to everyone. And, for us, we're really keen on building a sense of community. And we've done a lot of things to try to build the sense of community in Maimo. We have a lot of support from leadership in our program, from Arlene and our APDs and everyone else. I think everyone here is on board with resident wellness being a good thing. I don't think it should be a controversial thing that wellness is good. So, we have a bunch of initiatives for wellness. Every Wednesday is when our conference day is. And when you're in the ED or on various other off services, you attend conference, and we give you the night before as protected time. So you can come to conference ready to learn on Wednesdays. And so that Tuesday nights becomes a Maimo tradition that we call recess rounds, where we try to get together. Yes, recess rounds in all caps. Where we try to get together. We meet up with fellow residents, attendings come, even nurses come, as a way of building community within the ED. We have a lot of other wellness initiatives. Another member of our wellness committee just took initiative to get our resident lounge in the ED completely renovated. So it's a much more inviting space. We have snacks, we have coffee, we have a massage chair, which was bought as part of a research project. But I think wellness is really important. We have residents who run together. We have residents who go to brunch post shift. Wellness is huge, and it starts bottom up and top down. So wellness is really, really big in our program.
The other thing I want to add is that our wellness committee actually just took the initiative to renovate our lounge without even being asked. And our lounge looks really beautiful. There's a bunch of snacks in there. We're just putting all our residents on spotlight right now so you can see who's who. Does anyone else want to chime in about our wellness committee and other initiatives you can take as a resident here?
I can talk a little bit about it. I've never looked forward to Tuesdays more than I have this past year. And it's very, very true that as much as we've had a whole month to get to know each other, as soon as rotations start and everyone's on a different schedule, you don't have as much time to get together. And knowing that there is a time where everyone has an opportunity, whether they are tired or they had the entire day off, to kind of come together has been really, really nice.
Hey guys, I'm Joanne. I'm one of the third years here. And when I first started, the wellness committee was basically one person. But I feel like something that's been really awesome is every year there's been more and more buy-in from the residents that are coming in. And then so much support from Arlene, who is our faculty mentor, and just kind of lets us do whatever we want and is so supportive of any of our wellness initiatives. So I feel like now our wellness committee is so much bigger and we do so many more things. And if this is something that you're interested in during residency, then this is honestly the place to do it.
I will also add that I feel very blessed to have a wellness committee here. Not every program does. I'm on off service right now. I'm on CCU and I work with a lot of the internal medicine residents, and their program is quite large. It's over 100 residents, and they don't have a wellness committee. And I was like, wow, you guys should really talk to our wellness committee because we all love them. And so there was actually somebody I was talking to who was so inspired to start their own after hearing just how much we love ours. So thank you guys for everything that you do. I just want to move on to our next panelist now, Dr. Dave Eng, who we all love. He's one of our EMS attendings and very involved in a lot of our EMS work as well as event medicine. So Dr. Eng, could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, hey guys. So I'm Dave, like Ridhima said, so I'm one of our 3 EMS trained physicians that are on core faculty, which I think is probably one of the larger EMS divisions at a program around the city, if not one of the largest. And I think that puts us in a really nice position to really push and educate more than a lot of other places on what EMS is and what it means as a subspecialty of emergency medicine. On the same, just as ultrasound or toxicology or any of these other things, there's a distinction in being trained as an EMS physician, and I think a lot of other programs don't necessarily get that point across. Most other places, I think, tend to have an EMS rotation in during residency. That's some ambulance ride-alongs, a couple lectures, so you get to learn kind of what EMTs and paramedics do, but you don't really get to know what the physician does on that side. So I think we are in a really good position to sort of show, again, one, what an EMS physician does and what that means, and 2, what are the sort of career paths that are open to someone that goes through that sort of training. Probably one of the newer and sexiest of which is the event medicine arena, which I think is something that, again, that we do in spades and that we have as a very unique and strong advantage compared to a lot of other places. Event medicine, for you guys that may or may not be aware, is sort of developing as almost a subspecialty within a subspecialty. There's a very, vocal and active movement within the field of sort of this EMS pre-hospital medicine category where you focus a lot on the logistics, but also the very different pathologies and patient presentations that you can see in mass gatherings, right? So in large coordinated events, whether they're music festivals or sporting events or you name it. Because if you think about it, in a lot of senses, these mass gatherings are really just kind of MCIs that have been scheduled and planned out ahead of time, right? So there's a big opportunity and for a lot of stuff to go wrong very quickly, and kind of taking that intersection of disaster planning, pre-hospital awareness, emergency preparedness, and emergency medicine is very, very interesting kind of crux of fields. From Maimo, we have a lot of different opportunities as far as working in at various events, as Arlene kind of went through. Probably the biggest one of which is going to the Burning Man Festival each year while it is running. We're out there for a couple of weeks in the middle of a desert, essentially in a field hospital that was built up from nothing to provide real critical care for a wide variety of patients. We are also working Yankees games, working sporting events at MSG, concerts at MSG. What am I missing? The US Open every year. I think those are a lot of the big ones. And you can sort of imagine how the sort of patient that you might encounter, coming in from the heat at a Yankees game is a little bit different from the, petri dish of various drugs and toxicologic pathologies that you might get at Burning Man or some of the other festivals that are, recovering around the country. So a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different learning that happens there that you don't necessarily see routinely in the emergency department.
I will say that is one of the coolest aspects of our program. Everybody is really excited to sign up for these opportunities where not only can you help out at these events within New York State, but you will also have the opportunity to go out of state and help. So it's really cool. Something very appealing about our program. Thank you, Dr.
And you get to go to some free concerts out of it.
Yeah, as you can tell, he's also really cool, but I'm not going to tell him that on shift, of course.
You gotta keep me humble, right on.
On to our next panelist, Dr. Ruben Strayer. He is one of our most intellectual attendings, I will say. I, on shift with Ruben, learned so much that I can't even put it into words. As you can tell, he's riding his bike home currently, which only goes to show the level of cool he is. He runs our admin / education rotation. He teaches us a lot about airway. He's been featured on many different podcasts, including MRAP, MCRIT. And in addition to all of that, he takes out a lot of time to run a pain medicine clinic. Dr. Strayer, could you talk to us about those things?
Sure. You guys can hear me okay? Great. Nice to speak with you guys. I'm Ruben Strayer. I'm one of the emergency attendings here at Maimonides. I've been at Maimonides for about 5 years. Before Maimonides, I had the opportunity to work in a number of other great programs in the New York City area. So I've had a lot of opportunity to sort of see what's how they stack up and what's good and bad in various programs. And I've been really, really pleased with Maimo, both as a place to work as an attending, but also the residency is actually a really special endeavor and has really sort of blossomed under Arlene's leadership, and it's something we're all very proud of. I have a number of roles in the residency and within the department. I'm the associate medical director, so I try to help John and Natan keep the ship moving in the right direction, which is always presents its own challenges, but it's really fun. And sort of in that capacity, I run the teaching resident / admin resident block. So every third year resident rotates through 4 weeks of administration and teaching under my guidance. And it's a really great way to step away from clinical medicine for 4 weeks and take part in a variety of other opportunities, like focusing on teaching, focusing on administrative aspects of running the department. And we are soon also to offer an administrative fellowship, which I'll be involved with as well. So that's a really great way to spend 4 weeks. It's kind of a light month, but you get to use a bunch of different muscles. And some of the residents have really blossomed under the admin month and have decided to move in that direction for their careers because they like going to meetings, which can be really fun. I sort of run our airway program along with the SIM group, and we have been fortunate enough to have the support of the department insofar as we can play with all of the greatest airway toys. And so I'm really proud of our airway program. We get to use the whole range of airway equipment that's available. We have two video laryngoscopes. We have the GlideScope, the Verathon GlideScope, and the CMAC. We have disposable single-use flexible endoscopes, so bronchoscopes, which we can just throw away after every use, which has really lowered the bar to using those devices, which just really gives you an opportunity to get your hands dirty with all of the latest and greatest airway technology. We have new generation LMAs, which you can intubate through. And then actually just today, we sort of launched our latest, more minor but important piece of airway magic, which is large bore suction. So we have late generation suction catheters, which allow us really to provide the best care, the best airway care for patients. And I think that all of that in combination with our uniquely ill patient population, our residents graduate really expert in airway management, and I'm really proud of that. I also run our addiction program, and I have, it's not exactly a pain clinic, it's an addiction clinic, but there's a lot of overlap with pain, and we have been dispensing and buprenorphine and starting people on buprenorphine, people with opioid use disorder. We were one of the earliest programs in the city to do so, and we have, most of our attendings are waivered. We sort of do a lot of national level programming on that, and our residents and faculty have all become pretty darn good, actually, at identifying opioid use disorder and treating it with the best treatments available, which has become such an important problem in the past few years. So that's a little bit about what I do for the department, and I'm looking forward to meeting all you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Schreier. And when he's not doing all of those things, he's also working to optimize our EMR, helping residents organize a checklist for the recess phase, which is something you do before every shift as a second year in the recess phase, and taking out a lot of time to go through presentations with us before we give presentations, taking a lot of time out to teach, and we're very, very lucky to have him here and to be able to learn from him. And now I'm going to move on to our next panelist, which is Dr. Gary Maida. He is one of our pediatric ED attendings. He actually trained here as a resident and as a fellow, and he also just recently became a new dad. And we love having this with Gary. Gary, can you please tell us a little bit about what brought you to Maimo and what appeals to you about our pediatric ED? What is so unique about it, and what was so unique in your training?
Hi guys, how are you? Hey Rhythma. So yes, I'm Gary Maida. As she said, I did my residency and my fellowship at Maimonides. I'm from New York City. As a kid, that was always, if you had to go to a hospital and you didn't want to go to Manhattan, you came to Brooklyn, you went to Maimonides. Like that was really just what it came down to. And I did my residency there. In residency, the peds residents and the EM residents work alongside each other. You could go into pediatric emergency medicine from either pediatrics or emergency medicine. So it's a subspecialty within EM, in case you guys were not aware of that. As a peds resident, I didn't even know that it existed until I really went into it. And I love it. Maimonides is a very special place. We see a ton of crazy pediatric pathology. After residency at Maimonides, I worked at Brookdale for a little bit. Another pretty busy hospital in Brooklyn, and and talked to many friends in the field, and you just simply don't see as many complex, sick kids at Maimonides as you about Maimonides. Every service is available, but in the ER, we kind of take the case a little further than a lot of other places do. There's no fellows coming down and stealing procedures. It's just you. You're doing everything. You foreign bodies you're removing, you're splinting, you're suturing lacerations. You're not consulting someone for every little thing, which tends to happen at a lot of children's hospitals. A lot of places you rotate through the peds ER, but you need intubation to pick you fellows coming to do it. You have an ear foreign body, you're calling ENT. You're getting other residents involved, residents and fellows. And I really liked I wanted to learn how to do it all myself, and Maimonides really taught me that, and it keeps me coming back. It's some of the I'm biased obviously because I work there, but you know, the people that taught me are still working there, and they're the reason why I keep coming back. It's a really strong department. You guys do a lot, and it's great. As interns, you rotate 2 months in the PDR, and you do that like a month at a time. And you're there, you know, regularly. In your second and third year, you kind of come and go, and it's a continuous part of your schedule. It's really important for you guys because it turns out that most kids in the community are cared for by general EM physicians. So you really need a good peds base of knowledge, and Maimonides can certainly provide you that. Next year, we have a new PDR opening up, allegedly next year, across the street. Should have nice new state-of-the-art stuff, and looking forward to having you guys join me there.
Thank you, Gary. I will also add that we do have the advantage of having our PED in our ED or right next to it probably next year, which is kind of nice because we don't have to go off to another site and learn another system. And the PEDS ED schedule is kind of integrated into our overall ED schedule. So, you know, as you're going through residency, the chiefs are keeping track of how many shifts you've done. We have, you know, a north side, which is the more critical side, a south side, which is lower acuity, but a lot of bread and butter EM. And we have our PEDS side. And the chiefs are keeping track of how much experience everyone's getting in each side. So it's really nice to have it all kind of accumulated and to get all of the experiences in a given week during second and third year. Thank you, Gary. I'm going to move on to our next panelist, the one and only Dr. Sergey Motov. Dr. Motov has been at Maimonides for a very long time. He did his residency here. He runs our research division. He also does a lot of research on pain management and gives us a lot of lectures that are very helpful for us to learn how to order medications and how to treat the pain for our patients appropriately. And it's a very unique experience to have him here because we learn certain tricks that you may not necessarily learn otherwise. And he was actually just recently featured on a podcast on MCRIT, so you can go listen to that too.
I'm up, right?
Yes, it's your turn.
All right. Well, you are extremely kind. Beautiful words. Thank you for your kindness. Hello, everyone. I'm the PGY 21. Welcome you to Maimonides. Yeah, it sounds like very, very old. And Ridma was absolutely correct. I'm the second graduating class at Maimonides. I did it in 2006. I've been at Maimonides a total of 19 years, and I've gone through everything else as an APD and then another APD, and then I was assistant research director. And currently, I am an attending physician who's primarily focused on non-clinical work. I do research primarily, and I do some pain education. Briefly about Maimonides, since I was a second graduating class, I strongly encourage you to consider us. 3 years of fairly gruesome work, but I can tell you and attest based on our alumni and with the recent changes and what Dr. Chung has accomplished, there is not another residency program that gets you prepared to anything you possibly can see in the world of emergency medicine. And I'm based on this, my own experience, alumni experience. No matter where you go, you are universally prepared to face any adversity when it comes to emergency medicine. So please come to us. Hard work, 3 years, but payoff is phenomenal. So I run the research division. Research is fairly robust. We have a variety of subdivision within department. We have ultrasound, wellness, medical education, pain, which is my primary interest. We do EMS research. We do event medicine research, pediatric, geriatric. We work directly with pharmacy, interdisciplinary collaboration with Department of Trauma of Medicine. We do some stuff with ICU people as well. Obviously, COVID took over for the past 2 years, and we've been doing a fair amount of research as well. On a personal note, I do take pride in all the stuff our division and our department accomplished when it comes to pain. With management in DD, we've championed, we've pioneered several techniques. And I know somebody, David Eng, mentioned it's very sexy to go to event medicine, but trust me, it's even sexier to take care of patient pain the way Maimonides does. And when you come to Maimonides, we'll teach you all the tricks, starting from ketamine and for everything, including nebulization to propofol for headache and variety of ultrasonic nerve block, and then some. So we have lots of tricks and good armamentarium of analgesics. So this is in short research. I encourage, I support, I try to push my amazing residents, our junior faculty, and the only dream that I still have is that I'm daydreaming about one day when one of our residents, or my residents, I should say, will decide to pursue paid fellowship. So that's one thing I have to yet accomplish. Everything else I believe I've accomplished already. So great meeting you all virtually, and I look forward to see some of you and even work with some of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Motab. Thank you for taking time to come in today. Dr. Motab is actually like a really, really busy person, but he still takes out a lot of time for us. He will email each of us individually to figure out what we want to do as a research project. Every year he tries to touch base with us to see where we are at it. He is the first person we all kind of go to when we have any ideas. In addition to that and every other research project that's going on in the emergency department, Dr. Motab will take out time before our conferences every week at 7 a.m. On Wednesday mornings. He'll wake up early just for us to teach us about different medications and their pathways and how we can utilize them. And it's really, really nice of him to do that. He is also kind of a representation of a lot of our faculty in that a lot of them who graduate from here end up becoming our attendings as well. A lot of people, there's like a special like family feel at Maimo, as Arlene mentioned earlier. And, you know, it's kind of hard to find that. I'm still early in my career, so it's tough to say at this stage, but just like looking at how many of our graduates end up becoming our attendings, it just goes to show how special of a place it is to them. How do you determine if a student will be a good intern / a good fit for the program? What are some traits you were looking for in potential interns?
This is like is this like the opposite version of pimping where you just like call out like, hey, Arlene, what's the answer to this question? Yeah, I got you on that one. I'm sure Jeanette might have her own answer to this question, but it's really fit, right? And I think can be challenging in this year's virtual. I know it's going to be a virtual interview season coming up, but we're looking for residents who are going to be happy at this program, right? So you're going to get great training no matter where you go. So it's really just about finding a place where you're going to be happy, because I want happy residents, because if you're a happy resident, it means that you're going to be engaged in the program, you're going to take great care of patients, and you're going to get the most out of your residency training, and you're going to support your other co-residents. Honestly, I think the best way to figure out fit, like there's some stuff like geography, and for some people, like they got to be close to their family. For some people, they have to be at least 4 states away from their family. And there's some other stuff that plays into those like happiness decisions. But honestly, for fit, I would encourage you to get in touch with the residents. See like, hey, like, could these people be my friends? Like, are these my people? Like, do I think I'd sort of feel like I'd mesh in here well with the family? And so it doesn't have to be here, right? Although we are like rainbows, hugs, sprinkles, and unicorns. But I would encourage you sort of as you go on in the season, in addition to your virtual days, to really go if you can, reach out, talk to the residents, and get to know the program on a more personal level.
Echo everything that Arlene has just said. I tell the medical students every time the exact same thing. So whenever they come rotate, I say it's all about fit. Make sure that this is a place you want to be, that you have a support system, that you get along with the people. Obviously, that's a little bit harder nowadays being a virtual season, but we're going to have hangouts. You're going to have chances to meet our residents, go to them. This is really, really important. This is going to be your family for the next 3 years, or if you go to a 4-year program. And so I really do think that that's extremely important.
Thank you, guys. That was really helpful. Our next question is, how many hours a week would you say you work as residents? Do you feel burnt out? I think this is a really good question for Joanne, if she's on the call, as our chief and also our really good spearheader of our wellness committee.
Hey guys, again. So I will say, to be completely honest, like you're gonna have points where you're very burned out, but I feel like it's kind of across the board. But something that I've noticed about this program in particular is like just when you feel like you're like at wit's end, then something happens and you're just like, oh, I'm good again. So for example, we make sure that we never schedule like too many consecutive ED blocks back to back, because in the ED, like it's hard, like you learn so much. I think that's like the Maimo way, is that like we have such high volumes and we see such sick patients. Like you're gonna be, you're gonna work really hard, and everyone wants to work hard. It's such exciting work, but then it's like you do work, like a lot as you start off, but then with each year you get like a 10-hour reduction in your in the amount of hours that you work per month. And then in addition to that, it's like every year that you like move up, you have like a fresh like challenge, so not to jump the gun, but like as interns, you just work like starter shifts or a variety of shifts all over the ED. Second year, you work resus shifts where you're seeing the sickest patients that come into the ED, like literally like all of like the codes, like STEMIs, like any like resuscitation patient goes to you. And so it's like exhausting, but so awesome. Like this is where you become a doctor. And it's like, I just finished second year and it was like I don't know, it was like one of the best years of my life, but I was exhausted, I will say. But it's okay, like if you're not tired, then you're like, then like, are you, like, what are you really doing? But the way that we kind of combat that is that we have like mixed in like pretty chill rotations, like built into your schedule. So that's really nice. And then like we've already talked about, like we have so many wellness initiatives like built in as well. Even on the busiest off service rotation of second year, which is our surgery ICU rotation, like I was still able to go out like on a Tuesday night and see my friends. Just because you're not in the ED and you're doing off service rotations, like I feel like you still have time and you still have like the outlet to see everyone. And I feel like the other really awesome thing about Maimo is that like, when you're off service, you're not in the ED, you don't see all your friends, but you can just like come down anytime. Like everyone is here, if you need help upstairs, like everyone is just like a call or a text away. And so I think like one of the most important things for me, at least, to combat burnout is just like the people that I'm working with. And this sounds really corny, but like I get really excited when I come into work in the ED, even though it's like, again, the busiest you're going to be during residency. Like I feel like I'm friends with all of the attendings and I love all of my co-residents. And so when you're at work, it's like, yeah, you're doing a lot of like hard work, but you're also still just like hanging out. You're like joking around with your attendings, your co-residents, and it's just such a good time. Like I just finished a string of nights and honestly, like it was busy, but I had a blast.
Thank you, Joanne. Sorry to put you on the spot. Our next question, and it's up to you if you want to chime in on that one, or one of the other second years can answer. How does the responsibility increase from PGY 1 to 3?
I guess I can actually clarify, because I kind of started like very briefly talking about it. But as an intern, when you start, we're very supportive and we emphasize like your role is to learn how to like be a good doctor, learn the system and do things right. And so you start off and you're really just like, like you're just baby steps. But then by halfway through the year, like I said, like we are like a work hard, play hard program. So we'll push you, to see more patients, do more things. And then by like mid intern year, you're basically already starting to function like semi-independently. And so kind of the further you get in your residency, you'll notice you just get more autonomy from your attendings. And that's also what I love, is that like, I feel like my attendings will trust me, like as I rise up like in a training. And so you just get to become like your own doctor, which is really cool. And then, like I mentioned before, second year, your responsibility shifts to seeing like the sickest patients in the ED, which is amazing and very scary, but you get so many procedures. You learn how to resuscitate basically and do like the hardest parts of medicine that you have to do as an emergency medicine doctor. And then as a third year, so I'm like freshly like 1 week into third year, I guess, 1 week, no, a month, I don't even know. I'm losing track of time. But I feel like this has been also like a new challenge because like as the senior, like you're really expected to like see the patients, like be aware of the room, make sure like the really sick patients are at least like being, like assessed. You're making sure that your juniors are doing okay. And you're really taking on like a more like senior leadership role. And you're really moving the room. And I think that Maimo trains you really well to the point where you can handle seeing large volumes by the time you're a third year. And so that kind of graduated responsibility has been really awesome at Maimo, because like every time you think that you're like, you've just gotten comfortable in your new role, you get a new role, and then you just learn so much each year.
Thank you, Joanne. I attest to every bit of that except for third year because I haven't been through it. But I will also add that regardless of where you are in your training at Maimo, whether you're on orientation and are doing a shadow shift, or it's your last shift of third year, if it's your patient, you get to take the stab at the first procedure, at any procedure that patient may require. So that's a question I've been asked by students before is, at Maimo, does it go by seniority? Like if, there's a patient who needs a procedure, is it that the second or third years get to do it? No, that's not true. If it's your patient, and even if you're on your first shift as an intern, our attendings are really nice and will let us take a stab at it. Of course, with supervision, patient care comes first. But keep that in mind. The goal at the end is for you to learn that skill ultimately and become an independent doctor. So everybody has to start somewhere. And I really appreciate that culture here. You don't always get that. I'm going to move on to our next question, targeting one of the interns. I apologize. How did you feel welcome at Maimo, especially given the case that you just finished your orientation a week ago?
And it's been so hyped. Like it's kind of like you spend a whole month getting to know everybody, and now it's kind of like senior year of high school where you get to work in a place where you're everybody. You're finally like showing them what you got, and it's honestly a lot of fun. My time as a med student, my time in the ED always flew by because it was always so much fun. And now, you get to hang out and, work alongside some of the second years, third years. You get to work with some of the fun attendings. I've been able to work with Gary for the past couple of days down in the PTR. And, like as soon as I see him like walk on his shift, I'm like, Gary, are you coming on or are you coming off? Like, I need to know this because he's the guy I'm going to be hanging out with, for the next couple hours, learning from him, mentoring from him. And, it's like, how am I going to like walk out of here now? And so I think like Joanne, it's been a week, 2 weeks, however long it has been, time has really, really flown by. And I'm just very excited to be here.
Thank you, Alex. I have another question here asking, are interviews going to be in person or over video conference this year?
I think that's a me question. I'm going to self-select. Yeah. So I don't think there has been an official word from on high yet, although the unofficial word is that it's going to be a virtual season. And I think most of us have been watching the news. I think with the ramping up of the Delta variant, I think that's looking increasingly likely. And so we are planning for a virtual season going forward. But we've done it before, right? And the good news for your class is that you have people like Alex who did it last year, right? So you do have a resource, which is actually really helpful. And so I would encourage you, if you have alumni who are from your schools who have gone to residency programs that they like, hopefully, I would actually recommend reaching out to them. You can reach out to any of our interns. Sorry, I'm volunteering all 18 of them. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk you through sort of why they decided to pick Maimo. Some of them had never set foot, many of them had actually never set foot in our emergency department until they showed up on day one of intern orientation. And so unfortunately, it's looking like it's virtual, but I think we're going to try as much as we can to give you as accurate of a slice of what residency looks like here.
I was going to say, try to pay attention to people's sites, especially after last year. Most programs have actually made videos of what their ER actually looks like or what the residency kind of looks like. So scroll onto people's sites. We have the same, we have videos, and that was actually something that people put together. People worked really hard on, and now they are a resource for you if you don't get to come here.
We'll also have a bunch of virtual events, like sort of like virtual happy hours with the residents throughout the cycle. So you'll certainly, if you're not in town, you'll get to meet us virtually. If you are in town, please let one of us know, and we can certainly coordinate something that way too. Is there a cutoff based on USMLE step scores or failures?
I think this is another me question. This is like so many me questions. I'm sorry. Anyway, I don't mean to just keep talking. So no, we don't use hard cutoffs. We try to take a more holistic look at applications, right? And so looking at people's scores in the context of their life experiences. So I think that adequately answers the question. And it goes for all sort of number-based things too.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. Any tips on how a student can do well, get a favorable flow during their EM auditions? I think one of the interns just recently did this, so why don't you guys take a stab at it?
I mean, I could also kind of answer. I'm the Clerkship Director at Maimonides. So obviously that's going to differ from program to program. So I think the interns will kind of help you there a little bit. But honestly, people are just looking for you to take initiative, own your patients best you can, be part of the team, easy to work with, excited to come in for it to be genuine for you. Putting together good histories and physicals and improving throughout rotations, taking feedback, right? These are all kind of the keywords. But honestly, if you truly enjoy it, it will all come to you. It will all flow the way that you want it to. Read while you see patients, practice your presentations, and get to know the people you're working with. Just be part of the team. Engaged, but not creepy. That is correct.
Thank you, Jeanette. In that same vein, I think this question applies to you too. Does our performance during the EM sub-I impact if we will receive an interview or not from the program?
If you're rotating in a hospital, it's going to be also institution dependent. But at Maimonides, if you do a rotation here, you get an exit interview regardless. That's probably most places, to be honest with you, but it does depend. I think that how you do on your clerkships do matter. It's probably one of the most important things when getting interviews, along with your step scores and your CV. So in general, I mean, it is very important, and that's where your SLO comes from, which are the letters that we use to decide if people get interviews.
Thanks, Jeanette. Our next question here is, what is the ratio of faculty to residents on shift? Emily or Mike, do either of you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So it kind of depends on where you are in the ED. When you're on a primary teaching shift, say on the south side, which is one of the two main areas of our adult ED, it's usually 3 residents to 1 attending. There will be shifts where you work one-on-one with an attending. On the north side, it'll be 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 as well. So it really depends, but the ratios are pretty small, and I feel like I can always, reach out to or have access to an attending when I need one.
Thank you, Mike. And kind of along those lines, how many patients are interns and residents expected to see on average per shift?
So it kind of varies, like, I guess, throughout your level of training. And like, honestly, it's very resident dependent. There are no hard goals, honestly. Like, people pick things up at different rates, and that's totally okay. I mean, the like goal that we tell our interns is like, by the time you're like halfway through the year, or at least by the end of intern year, you're seeing on average a patient an hour. Like, so basically for a 12-hour shift, you've seen 12 patients. For like a 9-hour shift, you see 9 patients, etc. As like a senior at this point, we'll see like anywhere from like 1 to 1.5 per hour. But it just like depends on the day, and like, honestly, like, it's, if you're like working really hard and you're feeling overwhelmed, like, we're not pushing you to see any more patients. But I think just like by virtue of being at Maimo, like, you will learn how to see a lot of patients.
Thank you, Joanne. I think we are just hitting over the hour mark, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If anybody wants to ask any questions, you are welcome to email us. I can also pass along contact information for any of the residents who want to address any questions to you guys as well. But thank you so much for taking the time to come, taking out time of your Tuesday night. I know it's not easy. A lot of you are doing sub-Is and whatnot right now. So thank you for coming. Please let us know if you have any questions. We're more than happy to help. We will be hosting another webinar 2 weeks from today. And there you'll get to meet our diversity and inclusion committee. And I can also email you and let you know about any future events that as we're starting to plan them. So once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to our panelists for coming. I hope all the residents and attendings and whoever else wants to join will go and enjoy resource rounds tonight because it is Tuesday. But thank you again, guys. It was a pleasure having you all. And thank you to our panelists for joining.